A promise is a promise. And I promise to carry on live streaming all through the summer. Perhaps not on a daily basis, but on alternate days. And so here I am again with, as you can see, a panoramic view behind me of the umbrellas, the seaside. I think I'll call this one a day in the life of Hugo. And as I say, excuse me, a promise is a promise. And, well, I could tell you one thing, which was that I met a very likable gentleman yesterday by the name of, well, let's call him Christian. His name may be something else, but that's of little relevance. We were talking about everyday things, what he does, what I do, and here we are on this magnificent sunny day in August, of which we haven't had many this year, I confess, but anyway, so we can count ourselves fortunate for two reasons. The fact that we're here and the fact that we're able to take a break, get away from the confusion, the chaos, even as if you can hear in the background, there are a few background noises, but that is, as I say, that's all part of the live streaming effect. And coming back to my friend Christian, he was looking for an umbrella and a sunbed on the beach, to which I said, please Christian, you're here with your uncle, an elderly gentleman of about 60, 65, 70, a bit like me, you could say, ha ha ha. And he was desperate because there are no free beach umbrellas at this time of year, and he'd only just arrived. So I said, okay, take one of my sunbeds. What's the problem? We've two sunbeds. We're very lucky. We've got an umbrella. And if your elderly uncle wants to come down to the beach and then, of course, be able to sit somewhere, sit quietly, maybe lie in the shade, lie in the sun. He's also close to where we're staying. And I think it was, for me, it was just a gesture. He, of course, took to my gesture immediately and was very grateful, because he said, otherwise I'm desperate, I have nowhere to go and sit on the beach and at least have a swim and a bit of a relax and a chill out. And also my aged uncle is not able to get down to the beach and at least sit on a sunbed and relax, as I say, under the sun umbrella in the shade. Coming back to Christian, of course the question about English came up in the conversation, and he confessed that his English was somewhat limited, but I said, I'm sure you have other skills, you have other things you do in life, you have other hobbies, you have other interests, your friends, and maybe, you know, passions. It might be football, it might be whatever. Then I asked him I think quite a normal question, which is, you know, what do you do? And as you all know, when you ask somebody, what do you do? It's not how do you do, i.e. you're introducing yourself. We'd already introduced ourselves. It's more along the lines of what you do, what your job is, what your profession is. To which he replied, I'm a welder. Oh, I said, very interesting. So you're a metal beater, you're a panel beater, you work in a body shop, or, well, funnily enough, near where I live, of course, it was a very big business once upon a time, He's living on the outskirts of Turin, and as you all well know, going back in the years, Fiat was Fiat, and of course Mirafiori, there were many companies working for Fiat, small entrepreneurs, small artisan-sized companies, family-sized companies, and of course they all required this sort of skill. Whether the company was making dashboards, whether the company was making seats, whether the companies were making windscreens, whatever the company was doing, they were making a component, and therefore they were part of what I would call the supply chain, which then of course went to finish in the Fiat factories, onto the assembly line and assembling Fiat motor cars as we know them historically, going back 50 years, 100 years or more. His boss then took a decision and said, well, if we want to keep up with times and we want to keep up with the market, we ought to become a little more elite, and perhaps we should start working other metals. And he took a very interesting decision, which purely meant it coincided actually with the event of Fiat no longer being Fiat, in that it joined forces with Chrysler and then became what it is today, which is of course a colossal automotive company, as there are many others in the world, without saying any names in particular, but of course all those normal names that spring to mind, whether you're talking all the various groups, and Tata Group and this group and that group, Ford, Chrysler, you name it, but there you are, Fiat, Chrysler. So that's one group. And then you've got what we all refer to as Mini, and then everybody says, no, that's part of the BMW group, and then you talk about the Volkswagen, and then you've got Volkswagen, Skoda, Seat, and all the various. So, of course, but coming back to Christian, he said we started, how could you say, working and specializing, more working in what is known in Italian as carpenteria metallica, and therefore metal working or welding, and working for such companies not only in the automotive industry but also big groups like Philip Morris for fitting out their shops, which is very interesting, and I would say curiously, and quite a, how could you put it, really, as I say, you learn something new every day, because I was not so aware that aluminium, but of course it is used in the automotive industry. Why it's used, apart from the expense, because of course it's more expensive than some metals, it's less expensive than others. It's very easily worked, it's malleable, it's very light, and I think that's the key question, or the key factor, or the key aspect about aluminium. And you might just have an aluminium chromed stripe down the side of a Ferrari, just to name a few names like Maserati and other Italian Bugatti and what have you. But of course aluminium is quite commonly and quite widely used, and therefore he said, one might say it was our saviour. It was a good choice of my boss to move away from other metals which they had previously worked until then to aluminium. And one might say that that was really a strategic move on his boss's behalf. And on that kind word, may I wish you all a good day.